Hello everyone, Prantik here from Adelaide. The Adelaide Oval is just behind me somewhere there where I spent a very interesting evening. It's amazing what can change in 3 hours. I entered with a lot of gusto, excitement with the Bharat Army, so much to cheer for. We were shouting and screaming our lungs out, especially when Pandya was on song. But boy, less spoken the better about what happened thereafter. Outplayed, completely outclassed in all departments and thumped and humiliated. Another 10 wicket loss that we have seen in recent times. It happened when Kohli was captaining against the Pakistani T20 side, and now we see what happened last evening. Like many of you, I tried to drown my sorrow in a pint of beer. I read a lot of interesting critical analytical articles. I debated and vented out on WhatsApp groups. I even tried humor on social media. Some very funny memes, probably my favorite being from the Indian cricket team handle, which had the gall to say that India fought and tried hard. Anything but that. I don't want to go too much into details about the match yesterday and what went wrong. I think it was pretty evident. Our power play batting, Rohit and KL, another dismal performance, unfortunately. Our bowling, which has done fairly well, didn't click. But, I want to rather spend some time. I've been thinking about why is it that the last time we saw a big win, a trophy win, came in on June 25th, 2013 Champions Trophy, and obviously the famous 2011 World Cup win. Why have we gone without a trophy in men and women's cricket for that matter for really 9 years, despite reaching the semi-finals on so many occasions? What is it that's not working for us? Because I saw an interesting stat from Jared Kimber in his newsletter this afternoon that in the 2 years prior, India's batting strike rate has actually been quite comparable to that of England's. So in the bilateral series, when we play countries in India or even overseas, we're doing quite all right. But what is the reason that suddenly when it comes to these important tournaments, we're not clicking when it matters? There are three things that I sort of been thinking about and I wrote yesterday. One is, I think, our fundamental approach to cricket, this shorter format, T20. I didn't realize till I read Jared Kimber's piece in The Cricketer on my way to Adelaide that it's been nearly 20 years that the format has been around. Doesn't seem that long, does it? And it's a wonderful article where it talks about how different countries have tested and experimented with different formats and different techniques. It talks about West Indies, how they've been trying to use power. You look at Dreras, you look at Russell, you look at the Pollards of the world, you look at Carlos Brathwaite, how they've sort of used the power game. All right. Sri Lanka has tried mystery spinners and various different ways of bowling because the format lends itself and it asks and demands a different kind of skill set. There are players who have been sort of playing freelance cricket, if you will, across different parts of the world. Look at Tim David, right? Look at various other players who have been going across continents playing under different conditions. Look at Alex Hales. Adelaide is where he played and look at what he's done. He knows the ground. Adil Rashid, he knows the ground and they know where runs are scored on the square of the wicket, and look at how they've capitalized on that. What a fantastic, fearless brand of cricket by Hales yesterday, and what wonderful bowling from Adil Rashid. When I look at teams like England, you start sort of wondering that is there some thought process and design behind how this team has been structured and why are they so good, where their number 10 and number 11 batsman, Adil Rashid, who was to come at number 10, he has 10 first-class centuries. That says a lot. Their bowling unit, which is depleted right before the tournament. There is no Archer. Wood was injured, right? Reese was injured. Yet they come out and string together such wonderful performances. So clearly there is a design and systematic thinking. So point number one is, I think Team India needs to look at T20 cricket very differently. I think Test obviously is the purest form of the game, but let's face it, for the economics of the game, T20 is the future. So if T20 is going to fund the Test cricket and the ODI cricket, we need to look at things rather differently. So I think we need a completely different set of management which looks at how do you create an incentive structure, a selection scouting structure that incentivizes, nurtures and promotes fearless brand of cricket. If the average age of our team is 30 plus, there were 7 players above 32. So nothing wrong with age. You can be fit as Kohli is, but the point is, you are of a different era, a different mindset. You're playing to protect your reputation, and Alex Hales does not need to do so. So how do you sort of unearth the Sarfaraz Khans, the Prithvi Shaws, the Rituraj Gaikwads, the Shivam Dubes, the Sanju Samsons? Maybe he's getting a bit too old. He's been overlooked for many a year. The Shubman Gills. How do we sort of take those players and promote them, give them the right opportunity across the world, not just in India, and sort of incentivize them to sort of throw caution to the wind and go out them and express themselves and maximize the 120 balls that you have. In this format, we can't be thinking that let's settle down, let one batsman play a sheet anchor role. You see, Joss Butler, he did an anchor's role, a beautiful balance of strike rate and average. But even that came at about 140 strike rate. All right. Across, this is not just yesterday. If you look at his last 12 years or his stats in general, in T20, it's not about just averages, but it's a good balance of strike rate and average. So if you want someone to play that anchor, you need someone who's scoring at 140 yet, who can give you an on average 35-40 runs a match. That's what a AB de Villiers did. That's what a Butler is doing, and I think Kohli can definitely play that role. But when you're opening, you need someone who can go and tonk the ball right from ball number one. Finn Allens, the Mohammad Harises who are coming in the middle. That's the brand of cricket that you need, and that needs a completely different incentive structure, scouting structure, nurturing system, and a different management. Because we can't be looking at, because maybe in T20 players will just have a 3-year window or a 5-year window for the national side whilst they monetize through freelance cricket elsewhere, right? So you're looking at 3 to 5 years where a player can maximize his skill set, his youth, his fearlessness, before after which maybe he has to look at something else or she has to look at something else. So that mindset has to shift. How do you sort of maximize resources? You've just got 120 balls, and that's what you've got to maximize. The second thing is about, I think, I like the fact that we use the Moneyball approach in various franchises and various national teams. Data analytics, you would know I come from that domain. There's a lot of power in that. But I think, as Andy Bull wrote in The Guardian, or as Saqlain Mushtaq spoke in that press conference, it's important to also be instinctive. One of the things that I like about Pakistan's approach is instinctiveness, their killer instinct. Of course, they're blessed with great bowlers, but unless you have that point number one, the fearlessness and instinctiveness to sort of respond, react, be agile, be fluent, just react to situations and play with the open mind, you can't do what these two teams did. England came back after an embarrassing defeat against Ireland. It's the same team, but yes, they had a bad day, but look at it, they didn't overthink it. One bad game, they came back. But it's not to say, many of you may also sort of retort and say, hey, maybe India had a bad day and they can come back. Yes, they can. But I think we do have a structural and a design problem when it comes to implementing our approach. We all know what is the right thing to do, but clearly there's a mental block somewhere, or there's a systematic block somewhere. So for England to come back after that Ireland defeat, and for Pakistan to come back after losing to India in a close game and to Zimbabwe, clearly there is freedom. Clearly, there is a mindset that says, you know what, let's go and give it our best. It's a new day. Let's sort of do a completely different approach. Let's play freely, right? That's the second thing, that we need coaches, management, and the kind of players who can be instinctive. Yes, they leverage data. They sort of see, they analyze, but they have to be able to express themselves, because you've just got 120 balls. You've got to be very expressive, very fluent, and again, aggressive, fluent, and fearless. That's the call of the day. The third thing is player management, both from a physical and mental health perspective. India definitely missed a Bumrah, but we can't rely on Bumrah across all formats. I'm sure there are questions in fans' mind about, was he brought back too fast? The first question should be, what led to him in that condition to begin with? Yes, he's our champion bowler, but if we stretch him the way we are, especially with his IPL commitments as well, he can't come good across all three formats. We'll miss out in tests, we'll miss out in T20s as well. So I think there should be horses for courses. Certain players, as we are seeing in England, in New Zealand, in Australia, that this particular format is meant for a particular strategy or brand of cricket. So the board has to take this call that, look, if our guys have to excel in this particular format, which seems to be the future, the economical future of this game, there has to be a completely different side. What happened in 2007 with India, probably that wasn't planned. That was the very first tournament, but that's what you need. You had Dhoni and 11 new men. I don't think Joginder Sharma would have been picked had he come from, had it not been 2007 after India's debacle at the 50-over World Cup. But you needed that sort of fresh blood, free thinking, who could just go there with a mindset that, look, I have nothing to lose. This is the only chance that I have, and I need to maximize this. So that's third point of, mental health and physical health. I think mental health, something has to be, yes, we have Paddy Upton in the team. I'm sure a lot of work is being done, but we need to look at, there has to be a pattern or a reason to say, why are we not clicking at the knockout stage? What's happening? When in the bilateral series, we are scoring freely. Rohit Sharma has been speaking openly about it. what goes wrong in that semi-final game or that final match. We saw that in 2019 World Cup as well. Our top three batsmen suddenly collapsed. So I think, this is where we need advisors, consultants, some deep thinking. And this holds true for across sports, that we can't ignore mental strength. We need, playing in the IPL is a very different breed of cricket. You could win 5 tournaments there, but to replicate that at international stage is very, very different. And I think that's my last point about certain strategic moves and selection choices. IPL, I think Rahul Dravid spoke about it, and he's obviously mentioned that it's up to the BCCI, but this is critical. Today we are blessed as the richest board. We have the resources, so no excuses. But we can't only be exposing our players to the IPL. Our players are missing out playing in Pakistan, in the PSL, in Australia, in the BBL, in West Indies, and now in South Africa with the tournament starting. So, what's the point of having these resources and not allowing a particular subset of your best crop of players to go and play in these conditions against those sort of bowlers? Why can't we sort of create a system where we embrace the freelance brand of cricket? Why can't we create our own Tim Davids, so to speak? Because if we don't do that, we'll be champions in dead rubber games at home. How many times do we want to win against Sri Lanka, West Indies, and even Australia, South Africa at home, and even England, for that matter? We till yesterday we had in head-to-head we are ahead of them, but doesn't matter in different conditions. So I think India, the board has to make strategic choices about exposure, about selecting a particular set of players who play in a particular way. So start with that strategy. I hope this is a moment just like what it was for England after exiting early in the 2015 World Cup. If you have read the book Hitting Against Spin, Bjorn Morgan talks about how they engaged experts. Strauss talks about how they got data analysts, how they got consultants, and collectively they took a call that we will play a very different brand of cricket. The Joss Butlers and the Ben Stokes and the Bairstows, you look at even Test cricket, their brand of cricket is very different. And I think the McCallums of the world can bring about that change. I'm not suggesting we need a foreign coach, and all I'm saying is we have the resources, we have the talent. It's about making a strategic choice of what do we want to be and what kind of cricket do we want to play and not play. And I think, as with a heavy heart, as a fan who has sort of now seen 9 years of, I was there at Wankhede in 2011. I know what it means to win a tournament. It was probably one of my favorite days of my life. But when I see India sort of losing both the men and women's team with so much talent, so much potential, so many resources, but when I see some of these strategic choices, when I think about it, it sort of hurts me somewhere, and I know that it sort of hurts all of you listening as well, because there's so much that we invest as fans, and you also know that we've got what it takes to win. But it's time to make that change, and I genuinely hope BCCI sort of takes a look at it and starts making some serious choices about what the future of Indian cricket is. What brand of cricket do we want to play? What kind of players and what kind of system will we create which will nurture players of a particular different brand, which will produce the Alex Hales, the Rashids, the Joss Butlers, the Reece Topleys of the world, where we sort of come out and maximize. Maybe it's going to be 10 over cricket, maybe it's going to be 100. It's important that we evolve and we choose horses for courses. So that's it from my side. I will move on from here to Melbourne tonight to hopefully watch the finals. Looks like it might rain or it might get washed out. But again, kudos to England and to Pakistan. I think it's wonderful to see how they have been instinctive, how they have built a system that's designed to play a very fearless, free form of cricket where they're throwing caution to the wind. That's the fun of the T20 format. Anything can happen. So too much overthinking, trying to play this game with traditional diktats and mindset won't help. Hopefully it's going to be a cracker of a game. I know we have seen the 1992 similarities. Literally a lot is panning out to be that way. But something tells me the result won't be as easy. What I'm looking forward to is who's going to be that Wasim Akram that came out of that 92 World Cup. Who's going to play that Imran Javed knock. But something tells me it's not going to be a case where suddenly a Wasim takes a hat-trick and 3 wickets and England just catapult. This England side means serious business. Right from the top to bottom, right from bottom to top. Every player knows their role. There is clarity of thinking. They're aggressive. Obviously, every team wants to win. But I think when they've practiced in this particular way for years, I think this England team is going to give a big fight, and something I would say that Pakistan do start as underdogs for this particular match. But again, it should be a cracker of a game. Wish both the teams all the very best, and genuinely hope that whether it's the next World Cup, 50-over World Cup in India, or the next T20 World Cup, which is slated to happen in the United States, hopefully by the time India goes to US, it's a younger, fitter, and a fearless side. The country and the fans deserve better. All right. Till then, take care.